David Egan from Missouri in the U.S. I live here in Ukraine. Today we're speaking with a friend of mine, David Plaster. He's also from the U.S. He runs an organization called Anomaly, which I work with. He's actually the big boss of Anomaly. And we're just going to have a conversation about why he's here and what he does here. So, David, tell us where you're from.
So I'm also from Missouri, so two Daves from the same state. It's pretty fancy. And yeah, we work in the same organization. So it's a very nice introduction, and I appreciate that. But now we live in Ukraine.
Tell us when you came and why you came.
Okay, so I came about 10 years ago. I had traveled the world when I got out of the Army, and wanted to see something different. I wanted to explore a bit, and after being to more than 100 countries, and had been to Ukraine before in 2011, I decided to, give living here a chance. So
tell us about your Anomaly.
So Anomaly is a non-profit organization in Ukraine that started officially in 2016, but unofficially in 2013. Mainly because I was busy with frontline support since the beginning of the war during Maidan, and I honestly I'm not a lawyer, I didn't know how to set up an organization, and I was financing everything myself, so there was no reason to set up an organization.
Okay, so can you tell us about the work of the organization?
Well, a lot of the projects that we do, we don't talk about a lot. So it's really nice to have an opportunity here at Studio Toloka to talk about some of the stuff we do, because honestly, until recently, you didn't even know a lot of the stuff we were doing. So, of course, as you know, things like you do in your community, education, developing community ties and support is very important. So we use things like education, like English lessons for our neighbors to try to help, just meet people, right? We're friendly in the part of the U.S. where we come from, right?
That's how I got involved with it.
Exactly.
I like to speak to people, too.
Yeah, exactly. And we're both veterans, so we kind of have this brotherhood bond that, that crosses state lines and also international lines. And so one of the things we like to do is we get Ukrainians together and we make our own tolokas. So we have our own cleanups in the neighborhoods, right? Mm-hmm. So you get people together to speak English together, right? They develop some esprit de corps, some feeling of kind of a cohesiveness as a unit, as a little happy group of people, you could say. Mm-hmm. And we get together and solve our neighborhood problems. So, when they speak English better, they're able to explain to us, about the problems in their community. Like they want to destroy a green zone and they want to put up a big high-rise there, or drain all the lakes and fill it with cement and make parking lots.
Like we're having in our neighborhood right now.
Yes, exactly. And what we do is we work with the locals who say, hey, the lessons are free. We're not here proposing politics or religion. We're just simply trying to have a conversation, and because we live here too, right?
Right.
And if you live somewhere, right, the Boy Scout rule, leave it better than you found it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we know how to leave it better unless we talk to the locals? So it all kind of comes full circle there. So that's about half the things: community projects, education, and ecology. But then we work with veterans, as you know.
That's the part I'm in.
Yeah, so we also do the community projects there. And then we'll see springtime, summertime, go out there and clean up some things, have a nice barbecue, meet the neighbors and such. It's always fun. And work with veterans. We work with their kids. We also work with people who are displaced from Crimea and Donbass. Okay. Patriotic Ukrainian people that just can't go home, right? Mm-hmm. And, going home feels nice, but imagine living in Ukraine, people can't go back where they grew up because there's a bunch of Russians living there now.
Yeah.
And exactly. So we help their kids. So we worked with the prisoners. Maybe you know about a lot of the people in Crimea. They get arrested by the Russian government and put in jail because they say they're terrorists. They even arrested, I think, like a 75-year-old blind Crimean Tatar.
Whoa.
Because they said he was a terrorist. They were afraid. The Russians are afraid of old blind men. So, and we're all afraid of Russia, apparently, right? According to the news, right?
Well, that's what the news says.
I'm not afraid, but whatever. And And then we like to help animals though, because a lot of people they have a good heart, and we've helped other organizations like American nonprofits take animals from Ukraine that nobody wanted because they maybe they were blind, they were missing arms, like missing legs, missing part of their paw, maybe had some really severe issues, and it was hard to find them a forever home. So we helped get them adopted out, and there's a lot of Americans that love animals and they just want to give them a home. So basically, Anomaly does everything, you could say. We just help people in the communities solve problems that they see that they're interested in.
See, I've only scratched a tiny bit of the surface here.
I think we got some more time to do some more things. Depends on what you're interested in. So
I'm still new with the organization. I started in November, I guess.
Yeah, November. Yeah.
My part right now is speaking clubs.
Yeah, and you do a great job with the students like it. So you're a Marine veteran, right? And
Yes, sir.
yeah, I think there's that Marine politeness coming out. So you served, and you continue your service, right? Because Marines are always Marines, right?
Never quit.
Never quit. So that's always good, and a lot of respect for that. Even though I was in the Army, but at least we weren't in the Navy, right? So that's all right with that, or the Air Force.
Chair Force.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're continuing to do now is train the territorial defense forces, because a lot of people are talking. Right? Talking about Ukraine in the news, about Russia, and people are scared. And the best way to combat being afraid is to be ready, right? To prepare, right? So
pray for peace, prepare for war.
Right? And those who know war are the first to seek peace.
Yeah.
So it's also as well. But but we're ready if it happens. So we continue to do that and be vigilant. So we will be all weekend actually training territorial defense forces here in town and around, and working also to train them all across the country.
I'm just going to ask, what parts of the country do you work in now?
Well, we have offices in 7 major cities in Ukraine, where we are currently working with the locals to solve problems. The main thing we like to do is not be visible. We don't like to do a lot of PR, because when you do a lot of PR, people think that you're running for political office, right?
Yeah,
So,
I'm not a politician.
We can't be politicians, even if we already tried. We can't even vote here. There's stricter voting laws here than in Chicago. So
dead people can't vote here?
No, I don't know. They might, but I mean, foreigners definitely can't vote.
Right.
So we can't do that. But because I mean, when we were doing our project in my neck of town, people thought I was running for president.
Oh.
So the grannies were all joking, saying, "Well, they weren't even joking; they were serious. It's Ukraine. Tomorrow they'll change the constitution, and this American will become our president. So it's better to get on his good side now." So there's the joke about me being the president of Borshigivka. Not even a joke. I kind of look at it as a matter of humor, but also of honor, because these people understood. After they understood I couldn't be the president, they still called me this. And because they see the difference that Anomaly is making in the community. Because it's not just me running around fixing problems, it's the community fixing problems.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I have to get us tied in with something like Habitat for Humanity. If there's so many displaced people, I used to do a lot of work with them.
I would love that. That would be great. I would even be happy to work with Jimmy Carter.
He doesn't really run the thing. Okay.
Well, I imagine so. He's getting a little bit older, but the work he does is in this organization does is great. So for those who don't know, Habitat Humanity builds houses for people.
I built 19.
You built 19 houses.
I was in charge of the construction on 19 and built 21 total.
That would be something I'd like to do here for sure. Yeah. It would be cool. Maybe we could even tie it in with veterans, or we'll start with displaced people from
That's
Donbass.
What I was thinking too.
Yeah,
you mentioned the displaced people.
Yeah, veterans from the war zone, from the conflict zone, from Crimea, who can't come home. But the cool thing, maybe you can tell us more about this. As I understand, if you get a home, right, you have to actually help build it,
yes.
and other ones, like so many.
Yes, you don't just get a home. You have to do what they call work equity or sweat equity.
No,
and everybody has to put in, I think it's like maybe 300 or 500 hours on their own home, one way or another.
How many hours did you put in there?
I never got one of their houses.
Never got a
How
house?
many hours I put in? Thousands.
Thousands. So it's,
Yes, I was
you could be
there.
a real estate mogul after
No,
that.
I tried. I don't like real estate.
So,
But
but no,
it's,
that's good. You got something. See, that's one of the key like core values of our organization is what can you do? Anybody can do something if you give them something,
Yeah.
right? But what about if you do something for people and they give you nothing back? I mean,
The whole concept on Habitat is not doing something for people; it's doing something with people.
Well, that's something. Well,
Yes.
that's great. But I'm saying is when you don't get anything in return, when like, you know this person, you see him, you help him out, and you know that they're not going to give you anything back,
Yeah.
but you help them anyway.
It was a good feeling.
Yeah, it's a great feeling, you know, and that's maybe payment in itself. Maybe that's why we don't get it. Yeah, that's kind of my big thing. You know, we're both retired, you know, you got a little time on your hands, so you can
A little bit.
a little bit of time.
Actually, retirement is boring.
It is. So that's why I stay busy because otherwise you find yourself sitting on the bench yelling at the kids, and you know it's not that fun.
I can yell out the window. I'm on the 17th floor. I have to yell.
Well, you get old fast when you just sit down doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
Ships in harbor rust and those planes that aren't flying right as well. So yeah, that's why I keep ourselves busy and stuff.
But if we could get connected with the organization, Habitat for Humanity, the way they work is they build a house. It's almost all donations and stuff. Okay, and they build a house with the people. The people have to pay for the house. They don't just get it. They get a zero interest loan for what we put into the house. So they might be getting a $125,000 house for $45,000, $50,000 in a lot of cases. And they have like 20 years to pay it off with no interest. And whenever we built a house in the U.S., the organization also puts money aside to build houses in other countries. So they're building in, I think it's like 70 countries, something like that, last I looked. And it's, I think they do maybe 8 houses outside the country for every one they do inside the country.
Well, still, that would be a good start. So, I mean, if anybody from connected with Habitat for Humanity is listening, I guess they, you know, give us a call. Anomaly's happy to help.
Well, I can call them.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it for Monday.
Okay.
So, what else are you interested in doing?
Well, I'm afraid my military knowledge is a little bit out of date since I got out in 1983.
But you can still shoot, though, right?
I can still shoot.
Well, that's good. That's relieving. So we just got to
Actually went
get this
down-
man a gun.
One of the neighbors said that.
Oh, well.
I went down to Dnipro last summer to a range and learned the new method of shooting, which is no longer put the gun on your shoulder, but it's like more centered. And it was very interesting. I actually hit things like that. But it's a whole different way of shooting from what I was taught in the 1970s.
Well, it's more based on urban combat, you know, instead of just
exactly.
We're not in trenches as much. Well, in the front it is kind of trenches a bit. So, how far do you think you could shoot now without a scope, without this iron sights?
I never shot with a scope. And
well, of course you're a Marine. That's why I was setting you
I
up
used to hit 500 meters. Now I can probably still do
300 meters.
Yeah.
Right? That's for those who are in the English system or the imperial system. That's longer than 300 yards.
A little over 300 yards.
A little over three football fields. American football fields, right? Canadian football fields. I think those are actually meters.
Well, if you were Army, you have to be able to shoot too. So
Well, I mean, yeah, of course.
maybe not as good as a Marine because it's Army.
You guys got to be good at something, right? So we're just good at everything else. You guys can shoot 500 meters, and we just do everything else. So, so
Better to shoot them at 500 meters and hurt them, not kill them. Because if you hurt them, they bring more people.
Yeah, and then
you have more targets.
More targets, yeah.
Yes,
I don't want to get too dark for our audience. I'm not sure who's actually going to be paying attention and listening.
Oh, it's okay. We can talk about whatever we want to. This is our show.
That's fine. Well, then where's the whiskey at?
After the show.
After the show.
Yes.
Okay. Well, might want to talk to the producers about changing the format. I think drinking a little whiskey would make it more interesting. But
That would be fun.
we could see. There's an audience for everything, right? So we'll do that this weekend. We'll do some training. It'll be more just kind of based on a needs assessment, what they currently have, and what they need further. We've already done a lot of training already.
What are you
different parts of
finding
the
as
country.
far as the volunteers and their level of commitment and of knowledge?
It varies, but usually even the most reluctant volunteers, kind of after time, they see it when they, going on doing online lessons. It's one thing, but people will say, "Hey, I'll volunteer 3 times as much if I can just teach in person,"
Yeah.
because they would rather do that than be online. We're
Right.
very disconnected right now. So as a world right now, we're so connected. In this generation, but we've never been so disconnected, and COVID has only distanced us further, I
Yes.
feel. No, we have some people, we have minimum requirements, obviously, because sadly, we're one of the few volunteer organizations that actually require volunteer commitments. There's unfortunately a lot of corruption in this area where people will volunteer and get their documents and then come over here and pay people some money and don't do anything.
I don't
And,
want that.
Yeah, no, it's boring, right? Did you know,
Yeah.
right? So I mean,
But I'm talking about the defense forces that
yeah, I got you.
you work with on the weekends and stuff.
Work with
and-
on the weekends. We do stuff with people, select groups throughout the week to give them some training because it's important that the other volunteers and the Territorial Defense Forces, that they see their own people, not us doing it, but the Ukrainians doing it.
Right. And what kind of, can you tell us a little bit more about the training they get? Is it like combat training?
Yeah, actually, we do like house clearing, like urban environment,
Okay.
assault training.
Okay.
So we have people that are U.S. veterans as well, that are infantry or worked in special operations or in different areas, and we do medical training. So, of course, in the Army, you wouldn't necessarily know this, but we'll say you're
You
a
were a
soldier.
medic.
You're a soldier. Yeah, I was a medic, and you're a soldier first. So everybody's a soldier first, right?
Yeah, well,
Every Marine's a rifleman.
duh.
so whatever. We're not get into that. It's a whole nother show on that, but
Yeah, don't get us started on talking about it.
it's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down. But yeah, so we're all soldiers first and all that stuff. So there's a basic skill set of soldier. I guess I got to drink. That's what that means when your nose itches a lot. It means you got to drink something soon. So
As long as
they
it's
say. I
drinking.
like a lot of Ukrainian traditions. There's a lot of traditions about alcohol here. It's very nice. That's why they're so friendly. Right? So when I say this, all soldiers first, is it they're a soldier? Every soldier, whether you're an accountant or a super secret, Delta Force guy like Chuck Norris, something like that. Then you always have these basic soldier skills. So skill level 1 sets. So how to read a map, how to do basic first aid, how to identify unexploded ordnance and mark it correctly, radio, signaling, different things you have to learn. And these are very basic things. And what's been hardest, I think, in Ukraine is trying to get people who have a different military system to understand what a NATO system, like a NATO military is. Because there's so much talk, just like NATO training, NATO training. You just go into the bar outside post.
NATO's not here.
But no, and NATO, its standards are very just. It's not about standards; it's about interoperability. It's like, okay, you guys shoot a little differently. You guys don't have your own medics. You have a Navy guy that's attached to you guys, where the Ukrainians have their own paramedics and such, and docs and everything. And the Marines have that as well as here, but it's a slightly different system. So it's how to work together, interoperability. That is the real NATO standard. And that has to do with roads being up to snuff so that you can actually transport people, logistics. There's even some aspects in there about language, maybe, right? You can't, NATO doesn't speak Ukrainian, doesn't speak Russian. There are people in those elements that do, but it's not the language. It's French and, of course, English, the other language. But
Maybe a
French,
little German.
No, well, yeah. Maybe the Germans would like that, but mainly it's about interoperability of languages. So, so if Ukrainians, and there's a lot of progress in that regard. We've taught more than 20,000 ourselves, so we've taken off a big chunk there. But our goal, one of our big goals, is this year we're launching a online learning platform for all Ukrainians to be able to have access to English for free.
Okay.
So, and it's a bit of a challenge, but we develop courses now. So we, and it's going rather well, teaching people to build different components that we need for this. Even developed our own private server. So
Wow.
like a little playground, a little digital playground to test out things. So it's really crazy what we have. So we have a production team, we have photographers. Some of our photographers have actually done photography work for like Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, a lot of different musicians and stuff in the U.S., as well as Ukrainian celebrities as well, and also veterans. So we work with a lot of work right now with veterans. So when we do training, we have professional photographers that work at a world level that are volunteers as well.
So something I know from past experience, I've been coming here for over 20 years,
Yeah.
and people in the U.S., especially, and they're very U.S. centered. Okay, I
Yeah.
don't think they really understand much about Ukraine, and they have some rather unusual ideas about it. What's your impression of living in Ukraine as an American living over here over the last 10 years? What can you say about the country as far as how it is different from the U.S.? What are the good parts of it?
I would actually say that, I mean, I think it's a very good question. Don't always hear it phrased that way. I always hear, like, why are we here? Why are we not there? Everybody wants to go there. Why are we? And I just say, ask them. You got relatives
my
in
favorite
America?
one is you're from the U.S. and you moved to Ukraine. Are you crazy? That's
It's like, how do you want me to answer that?
yeah,
It's like,
duh, yeah.
yeah, of course, we're all a little crazy, I suppose. But differences, I would say, obviously, it's obvious. I mean, like, there's the people here are not always very friendly when you see them in the street. Where
No.
different parts of America, America's so diverse. We're so diverse. We have, basically, America is like the entire world, like a globe or a world map, and then that's America. It's like we're all mixed together. We see how we're so different, but then when a group of Americans that are very diverse by American standards go over to Europe together, everybody's like, "Oh, look at all those Americans," right? And they're like, "How do you know we're all Americans? We all look different. We all have different orientations, beliefs, and because you're loud, you act a certain way. You only see America." And it's because we have these two oceans that separate us. This is natural like barrier that separates a lot of things. We have the super friendly people to the north that have no interesting food at all, and the very nice people to the south that have wonderful food, which I'm very very partial to Mexican food, having lived in Mexico and speaking and able to speak Spanish throughout parts of my life. So we have this really interesting perspective. We see things from a very American perspective, it seems, where we don't seem to understand that the world could be different than us. And it's all like television, It's
Right.
and it kind of the distance I think makes us a little desensitized to the world's problems, right? The starving children in Africa. And, I'll just send $1 every month and I'm okay.
Oh yeah, eat your beans because some kid in Africa,
I tried to send my food to
Yeah,
the
me
African
too.
children, and my mother washed my mouth out with soap for back talking. But Ukrainians, I would say, are very much like Americans. Now, my ancestry on my father's side goes back all the way to the 1700s. And everybody who has my last name in the country is my relative, actually.
Wow.
So they really looked into genealogy and stuff. Now we have, in our family, we have such diversity. We have basically every continent we have people who look like me and look like basically everybody. And that's what I really like about it, is because in my family, mainly from England and Germany and such, but a lot of my relatives like that married off with natives, with French, with the Polish and the Italians and the Germans and people from Asian countries, people from African nations. And I like that because it's really diverse, and it really shows what I think is the great part of America, is that we're so diverse. Now, Ukraine has a different history. Ukraine has a lot of neighbors that all wanted a piece of the pie and mixed together, but because the people in the region are predominantly white, you don't notice it as much, right? You don't notice. You see maybe different facial structures, different eye colors, the lighter-haired people and the darker-haired people, and then even some redheads, and then people who look more maybe like Middle Eastern origin, Turkish looking in a sense. I'm not an anthropologist, like the Crimean Tatars in this mix of everything. So Ukraine has also been kind of this mix of people historically, and has a huge history that goes back, more than
Over 6,000 years.
Well, yeah, yes, of course, but over 1,500 years, 1,500 years in the actual Kievan Rus and everything. And I see this since...
Yeah, Russia, we had it first.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, the capital of whatever they call their
Rus.
place. Yeah, the time when it was founded, and this was like the cultural center. You had in Russia basically a couple of yokels and some bears and the woods and swamps. I mean, where Moscow is. It wasn't anything at all significant to the region. But that's right. They let them, there's an expression in Ukrainian, дай дебил дорогу, give the idiot the road. Just let them think what they want.
Yeah.
But I see the same, because I read back some journals of some family members from the 1700s, the Revolutionary War, the fight for independence. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like, we don't want to pay taxes, let's throw our tea in the harbor. It was, they don't want to be oppressed. They want to be able to chart their own destiny, right? Mm-hmm. And develop their identity as a nation without being oppressed. If they're paying money, right, to the government, then they should have representation. That they're not as representation like they need to be politicians, but no, that they listen to the people, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea of giving the power to the people, right, of having this different kind of this experiment of a government, the Great American Experiment is really beautiful for me. And I feel honestly like the Ukrainians nowadays and throughout their history, continuously throwing Russia away and other nations away and trying to establish their people. The good and the bad things that have happened in Ukraine historically, on both sides, the people really, really want to breathe free. They it's like in their DNA, right? And the whole and the Maidan was freedom is our religion. I would say that, I wouldn't say it's the religion. I would say it's in their DNA. It's like a genetic thing for them, for all the people here, and they just want that opportunity to see where they could go. And you look at it. We go to the first space engines, rocket engines came from Ukraine. Anesthesia, in Vinica, and a lot of IT companies, so many brilliant minds. When you give them the possibilities, right? Right. Under all this oppression, they're just ready. They're just ready to go. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you give them an opportunity, they just grow. And it's amazing to see that. And I mean, why wouldn't I want to be part of that? Why wouldn't I see it? When I came here, it was boring by today's standards. There was no war, no big political crisis. Beer was still like $1. I mean, it's still $1, basically, roughly $1, something like that. It's pretty cheap. So that doesn't change, but the valuation to hryvnias and dollars is changed dramatically. And but the people haven't. I mean, in that sense, they've been pushed down. The government tried to stop them, but they pushed forward, and I want to see what happens next. And I don't think Russia's going to stop that.
I often feel like Ukraine, people run from Ukraine. A lot of people want to go somewhere else for the opportunity, but I often feel like they're really missing the boat because this country has so much opportunity. I mean, so much room to grow. Well, it's like the U.S., like in the 1940s, right after World War II, mm-hmm. and it suddenly exploded, and I think that could happen here.
Well,
I want to be a part of it.
In a positive way, exploding, right?
Yeah, not that, no.
Not like bombs dropping around their heads and like Brian Williams comes back, there I was in Kyiv.
Yeah.
It's like enemy fire and stuff. Brian Williams, the greatest war journalist of all time.
What a fraud.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What a jerk. But no...
he was probably there when Hillary got shot at by the snipers.
Yeah, I don't know why people like to exaggerate things. Just tell it like it is, and let the chips fall where it may. There's no point in making exaggerations. It's about stuff, but whatever. It's their MO. About the people that are leaving, let them. I say it's like if that's where they really feel called and developed in their life to do something, that's where they feel their destiny lies, is in some other land. Great. Mm-hmm. A lot of them want to come back, but let them choose that. I mean, otherwise, I'll always have that what if? What if I did this? And that's, I think, is horrible. Living with that feeling that you didn't do what you wanted to. Mm-hmm. And that's why I couldn't just be a pensioner in America and just live here, go and get another 9 to 5, make good money. I had a lot of job offers, making 6 figures, and I'm like, just want to try something different. Why not?
Yeah.
Actually, and when I lived in Ukraine, I was a farmer. I made really good hooch, made really good moonshine. I didn't sell it. That's illegal. I just gave it to people,
Peach?
Well, no, I didn't have any orchards of peaches. But now that I've got some land, small little place, I might do that with some trees there. Who knows? We'll see. I'll probably get back into my moonshine business after the war is over. No, not business, rather. I can't say that.
Of course not. Business, no.
Yeah,
not
just
business.
friends, just gifts for my friends at holidays. And I want to keep bees and stuff, so I do that a little bit too. So hopefully this year I'll have some results of that. I want to make my own canned products and just give them to my clients and for my company and to my volunteers. It's like just funny little labels on there, Dave's Bees, something, I don't know, something crazy, just for fun.
I just find that like when I talk to my family back home and my friends and Facebook, and all this stuff, that they don't understand Ukraine at all. I think they think it's some backward little hole, God knows where, because they can't point to it on a map.
Well, they can't. A lot of them can't find the U.S. on the map.
No, they can't.
So it's.
But I find when I'm here that it's a vibrant country. There's so much stuff to see and do in Kiev. It's unbelievable. I've even been to a ballet. And I am not a ballet person, but
I just immediately imagined you in a
no, I wasn't in a tutu. No,
yeah.
No, but I went to one that was an American troupe came in, and the first half was boring. It's the the Mozart and all that classical music, but the second half was David Bowie, and the entire place exploded. It was just hilarious. They were screaming and jumping up and down and having a wonderful time. Great music, and you don't, it's just...
It was actually David Bowie's, music.
Well, he's dead, so he
Well, of course, yeah, but
but it was his music, and it was really cool to see.
They were screaming, zombie, zombie.
No, there's so much stuff here. There's so much to do.
Yeah, creativity, it's
just, as a tourist, and that's why I don't understand, Ukraine doesn't get a lot of tourism compared to a lot of places.
It gets a lot of inappropriate tourism, I would say.
Yeah, but there's so many cultural things and museums and history and castles and just blows me away. I've been here 3 years and I ain't scratched the surface yet.
We gotta take a road trip. I think I got some places I can show you.
I love road trips.
Oh yeah, well the roads aren't that great. So.
Well, yeah,
but let's hope that they read the point about the improving the roads to get into NATO.
Yeah,
it's almost comical. It's like you have to actually maybe have a road that drives to a NATO nation. It's like
hey, there are some roads.
There are a couple, but you see them and you'll see this after you've been in a couple more seasons. After the winter, everything just runs off. It's like they just painted the roads on, and the salt just eats it away horribly. Or
it's not as bad as what he's saying.
It's worse in some places. It's definitely worse in some places. Well, the roads actually out close to the war zone are actually better than in some places in Kyiv, in the capital. So, hey, it's they're definitely European prices for building the roads. That's another aspect of corruption, of course. But no, it's not the people's fault. It's like what government is not. The solution to the problem. Government is the problem. So,
government's never been the solution to the problem.
Well, I was saying Ukrainian that.
I'm talking about the U.S. government. I don't.
Well, the government is our reflection. Yeah. So if we don't like what we see, then we have the ballot box to change that. And that's, sometimes it turns out for what you like and what you don't, but either way, educate yourself and vote, and that's it. Doesn't matter who you vote for.
Yeah.
I get interviewed so many times every election. They're like, hey, who are you going to vote for? I don't discuss that. It's private. And they say, well, is your candidate going to win? Probably not. And they said, oh, you're voting for this guy. And I said, nope. And they said, oh, you think this guy's going to win? And I go, I am for America. At the end of the day, it seems that the country doesn't win. Because we just become more and more divided, and that's not because of one person. If we let one person destroy our entire nation, then I think we had problems a long time ago. So it's just do your part. I mean, look, come on. Very few of us are ever going to have any kind of opportunity to make any significant changes on a national level, right?
Yeah.
So, but what can you change near your house? That's just kind of one of the things that I try to encourage people to do. That's why we build these little happy groups, you could say, of people to make change. Because you can take a small team, you can insert them into a neighborhood, and you can teach the locals how to develop better ways of doing something and solving problems. And in time, next thing you know, you have this revolutionary thinking, and the people in government are no longer there because they're replaced with people that reflect the people more. So, and that's better, and the people are happier for it, and they're not being oppressed. So, I think that's the ultimate goal, is to just help the people realize their potential and to make their communities better. But it all starts with us, right? It's a choice.
Education and smart choices.
Yeah, and don't be indifferent, to other people, right? You see something you can do, you do it, because you have the ability to do it. And even if it doesn't, you don't get a thank you, So you feel better because you've done something to help somebody else. And I guarantee it, all of us listening have had experiences in our life where somebody helped us that we didn't know, had no way of even saying thank you to them because they were gone just as quickly as they were there. And when you do that to other people, it's free. It's random acts of kindness is what I like to do.
You talk about freedom. One thing I really like about here is that being in this country, I feel a lot freer to do what I want and say what I want, and I don't worry about the politically correct and I'm going to offend some fringe group that I've never heard of before, or some guy that wants to dress weird or something. I don't see that. I don't run into that.
I mean, it's like I believe in the freedom of expression and the freedom of religion, the freedom from religion. So believe what you want to, and I think that the focus is on how we're all different instead of the same thing. We're very much the same, even though we look differently and act differently and love differently, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? You've noticed in our organization we have some people that are very politically different, right?
Yeah.
Right, and that's a good thing because it challenges us to think about what we really think and why, right? We have people that are from all over the world and people of every skin color, every religion in our organization. But you know what? We can sit at a table, break bread. For those who are not gluten intolerant, we have some special non-gluten bread, whatever. And we can talk, and we can have a beer or a drink that is allowable or that they prefer, and we can sit and have a conversation, and agree to disagree and be friends. But it's harder and harder, it seems, to do that in life, unfortunately.
It's just easier to be able to communicate here, I think, in a lot of cases than it was in the U.S. because I don't have to be so careful that, that I'm going to say the wrong thing and offend the wrong half of the country or some nonsense like that.
The intentions, I mean, you don't want to upset anybody.
Sometimes I do. I don't care, but.
Quite. I know what you mean, but at the same time, I think what you're saying, if I'm correct if I'm wrong, but I mean, in general, you're not trying to go out there and ruin people's day or make anything worse for anybody. I mean, if somebody's rude to you, you might be rude back to them. You might just walk away, turn the other cheek.
Just the U.S. was getting so politically correct.
Yeah, it happens.
And I don't see that here, and I like that.
Yeah, but there is a lot of intolerance here. There are some very, 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 very small groups that are very loud.
That's life, and anywhere in the world you
go.
That
tell people that they shouldn't live a certain way because of who they love, and I think that's wrong. I think love is love, and if you love somebody, that's great. If you have somebody that loves you, that's wonderful. Just be a good person, and that's hard, Growing up, I lived outside of a big city, and I lived out in the country, and there was a small amount of people that were not white, and the most popular kid in school was a black kid who happened to be gay.
Wow.
And
he wasn't one-legged too, was he? As long as he was checking off the boxes.
No. He was actually my best friend, and so we grew up. I mean, I knew it before everybody else and stuff, and it didn't bother me because I never was that handsome. So but. But basically, a lot of people would be really rude, mainly because people didn't know them, didn't get to know somebody. So that's what, I like about our organization is you get to volunteer with people, right, who have different political beliefs, than you completely, but you're working together to make something better for people who probably never say thank you, never really see you, doesn't, and that's, I think, the division. So I think that my message, to our people would be, say, hey, guys, stop focusing so much on why you're divided. Find a common task that you guys can do in your communities, right, to improve it. And it doesn't take a lot of money. I mean, I'm financing basically everything we do myself without support, and I like that. It's like I don't have to work hard, but I work very hard, and I like it a lot, because it's you really just need three basic things, and of course, being indifferent. You just need, nobody's got time, right? Everybody's so busy, right?
Oh, yeah.
In America, we're extremely busy. We live so we can work more. In
America's
Ukraine,
work, die.
Yeah, exactly. Dig the hole first.
Yep.
Don't make work for somebody else, man. So, don't, yeah. Anyway, but Ukraine, it's more about I work so that I can live. Because if I don't work, I don't eat. If I don't work, I can take care of my family. Yeah. In America, it's different. It's like I just got to work. I got to work. I'll live later.
U.S. has lived to work. Everywhere else is work to live.
Yeah, well, I mean, not everywhere, but yeah, in general, it's I've lived in a lot of countries and such. But yeah, it's there's a kind of a division on one side or the other of that spectrum, and so you don't have to have a lot of time to make a difference, right? Sometimes it's a smile. It's holding the door open, right? You get yelled at for being a sexist because you hold the door open for somebody. I don't know. It's happened to me. Not as much here, but it happens. And I just smile and say, have a nice day. Because I don't let that person take away my happiness, right? So if you have 5 minutes, I always tell people, you got 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes, great. What problem do you see? Okay. How would you address that? And then I talk with them. I have problems, with that. And I said, well, maybe you don't know how to write a letter, but if there's a problem in your neighborhood, other people feel this. Do you agree with that? They're like, yeah. So there you go. Just fill out this telegram bot, automatically, right? And then every week we'll update it and let you know. And you can send a letter to the government, to multiple members of your elected officials, and say, hey, we don't like this. We want this to be a green area. Or there's a legal building going on here. Or last week peaceful people were attacked because they were trying to plant trees, and obviously not right now, but it happened. And then the builders came in and cut down all the trees. Well, the area where we were planting trees was an official green zone, and it was allowed to do that. We had permission, but the builders still attacked people. Yeah. So what do? So small amount of time. Okay, I got it. Time, money. You got thumbs, right? What can your thumbs do, right? They can operate a 50 caliber machine gun. They can operate an AHS automatic grenade launcher. They can operate, a lot of different things. You can put them up your backside if you want to, but it doesn't really help much, does it? You can work these little
people do that.
Well, they do, and that's their right. It's whatever. Get out of my way, Don't put your fingers in my face afterwards. They can operate their phone, right? They can use their phone to send messages, communicate, share great ideas, maybe with their friends, other indifferent people. Then next thing you come, they're bigger. So after they did that, we brought a lot more people. They stopped beating us after we did that. Now they stopped building. So they actually aren't allowed to. The government actually finally stepped in and said, if you guys build anymore, then we're going to sue you until you stop. So there we go. And it worked, but they kept attacking us. So that stopped. We had people were helped because of just 5 minutes, thumbs, and Wi-Fi. That's all you need to change the world, in addition to indifference. So anybody around the world can do something. It doesn't cost any big money. If you have no desire to change anything, well, it doesn't matter how much money you give somebody. It doesn't work. It doesn't make any sustainable things because in our organization, as you know, I'm very open and honest with you guys. I share information. I explain things to you. If you have questions, I help you. I explain the processes of everything, and we go through it together, so you feel comfortable, right? So honesty should be what we do. Should be competent. So if you are not the best guy at this task, then I'll bring in somebody. He or she will show you how to do it, and then you feel comfortable. Now you're ready to go. And then why? Because we want it to be sustainable. people have enough problems in life everywhere. And one of the biggest problems is people think that, oh, well, they're doing this now because there's an election, there's some sort of, that's something they want, and then they're going to go away. So when they see you there today, tomorrow, in a week, in a year, they're like, And that also brings people to help out because nobody wants to give away their time for nothing, right? For a waste. And I think it's important to see foreigners like us do something in the community. Because if you just go to all the parties, meet all the pretty girls and stuff, and which there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of them everywhere, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But then you're not doing anything back to society. I mean, you really don't put down roots. You don't really feel invested in society. You feel lonely, you know. I think we've actually brought a lot of couples together actually through volunteering, you know. Not necessarily foreigners, but locals, sometimes foreigners and foreigners. And that's really great because people, and some of these people were, Dave, they were so different. But they found common ground, you know. They found common ground, and that's the beautiful part of it. Because if Anomaly can do what it does with people from all over the world, a lot of people from America, very different people, then I think that you know, maybe the world has a chance of being a little better. Yeah, that's a good thing.
So what do you think about this whole invasion thing? You think it's going to happen, not going to happen?
Well, Dave, I hate to break it to you, the invasion, you've already missed it. It happened.
Well, I know there was the one.
Happened 8 years ago.
But there's now the clowns around the border again.
Maybe they're just doing a training exercise, like they
Maybe
say.
that's all they're doing.
Maybe that is. Maybe they are doing both.
Maybe it's intimidation.
Maybe it's intimidation. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe it's designed to make America and Ukraine look stupid for asking for help. You know, the boy who cried wolf. They come out of the bunkers there at the end of the Olympics time. They're like, hey, why are you guys all here? Like the end of the Ferris Bueller movie when he's like, hey, what are you guys doing here? Invasion? What are you talking about? We're peacekeepers, you know, and play that. So I think that Russia is going to escalate things. A full-blown invasion, I think that's not so certain about that. Either way, it's going to be a reaction to something, real or perceived. You've already heard some reports maybe about doctored videos, a drone attack, all kinds of stuff, trying to pretend like Ukraine is the big bad. Of course.
So that Russia can come in and
save people.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just like they did to
Georgia, Kazakhstan, pick the country,
Moldova, everywhere. Ukraine, already. It's just you know, to liberate us from the old blind men that are terrorizing our neighborhoods, you know. Thank you. But it's a big misperception, though. They think that people who speak Russian are actually the enemy. And most people that speak Russian in Ukraine are very patriotic, love their country. They just grew up speaking the language, and that's okay. But they love their country.
The parts of the Ukraine I've been to several cities in Ukraine, and some places they speak Russian, and most everybody speaks Russian yet. Some places they speak Ukrainian. Some speak both.
At the same time.
Sometimes.
It's like me. Yeah. I think,
but they're all Ukrainians.
And exactly. But when you're across the seas, you know, across the ocean, it's really hard to see that, isn't it?
And then, of course, Russia's screwing things up by, in the Crimea, for example, bringing in Russians and transplanting them in and taking out Ukrainians. And trying to make it look like it's Russia.
Usually taking them out by displacing them, by making it a peaceful place to live, or by arresting them. Several of our students actually spent a lot of time in Russian prisons. So like Oleg Sentsov and Alexander Kolchenko. They were two political prisoners for about 6 years, and they spent in Russia. And so it was our great honor to teach them English, to help them with their English. They're very intelligent people, but a lot of other people, so it's the kids. We have a lot of kids, teens from Crimea, and helping them with English. It allows them to tell their message, you know.
And for me, I don't teach. I mean, I don't teach English.
Right?
I give people a chance to practice.
There you go.
You know, because I find
you listen, right? A chance. You listen to them.
I listen to them. I talk to them. We have a conversation about whatever. It doesn't make a difference. but it gives them a chance to practice with a native speaker. And I'm seeing with people I've been talking to in my neighborhood a lot of improvement.
Yeah, it's confidence. I mean, confidence is
Most
big
people are just scared. They haven't. Maybe they learned English in school 20 years ago and they haven't used it, and they're nervous. And I tell them, don't be.
Yeah, a lot of people they don't speak Ukrainian because they're afraid of how they will speak Ukrainian.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lack of confidence. So, as you know, I have a company that finances a lot of our projects. In addition to me financing it from my pension.
Actually, I didn't know that, but okay.
Well, you probably just forgot. It's all right. But so one of the things that we do in our school, in Dave's school, which is actually dreamed up by my students, because they were trying to promote me teaching at the courses at City Hall and such. And we've done around the country. And they say, like, oh, Dave's cool guy. And I'm like, I'm hearing this. Dave's cool. Dave's school.
Dave's cool.
So I'm like, all right. So that's the name of the school. I'm like, huh. So I just named it basically after my students saying that. And it's kind of a funny way that they were running the S's and everything together to say I was cool, which is kind of cool. So I just, I said, whatever. It's a very, very humble name for the school that pays the bills.
Funny.
And so we use that to finance things, and also to bring in more ability to get involved in society, because we go to the clients and say, hey, they come to us like, hey, we want to help plant trees next spring. And I said, great. Well, like, where do you want to buy some trees? I said, we can get some from the government. There's programs for this. We can buy some stuff. Where can we get the money for this? I said, tell you what. Your company, did you guys learn English? I said, oh, yeah, we're looking for a school. I said, why don't you check ours out? And we'll take a portion of that and we'll put it towards buying the equipment. We'll bring some volunteers. We'll help you guys to plant trees together with Anomaly, and your company or your organization will plant trees, help feed orphans, take care of, give them clothes, toys, New Year's presents, back-to-school backpacks, help train the territorial defense forces in Ukraine. And so what we're bringing to Ukraine is now social entrepreneurship. So we even have European students, university students, that come over here and do internships with us to learn how to run a nonprofit, a successful nonprofit organization, based on desire to change, and not just we have a bunch of money from a bunch of bigwigs and stuff and grants and let's just spend it, And I've never had that problem, because I've never had a bunch of money from other people to spend. So
this has been a really interesting conversation. I've learned a lot tonight, but I'm curious and we really need to wrap this up, okay? Because I don't want to put the people to sleep out there wherever they are. But
so maybe it's their time for bed.
If somebody wants to get involved with Anomaly, what do they do? How do they contact the
Anomaly.org.ua. Our website's currently in 6 languages. Okay. None of them are Russian. Then we're going to be adding Gaelic and Norwegian soon, and even Arabic and Chinese. And Turkish is already in process.
So can you give the web address again?
So anomaly.org.ua.
Okay.
Or you can just Google David Plaster on Facebook, Ukraine, and it'll pop up.
Okay.
A lot of people find me just that way. They search different projects that they're interested in, and they find us. So, because we are so diverse.
So if anybody out there is interested in helping or getting involved with things, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
And thank you for the time.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave.